Hey guys, how you doing today? Um, had a day off. It's the new year. I'm making a video about depression. Um, that's why this video is coming down so late for those of you who care about that kind of thing. Uh, I just broke out of a pretty bad bout of depression. I've been suffering from depression with depression since I was a teenager. Um, And I promised myself when I do this channel that I would never make a video while I was experiencing depression, at least while I knew that I was in a depressive bout. And um, and I think that's pretty important because when you're in the bottom of the well for depression, it you things are bleak. Put it that way. Things are bleak. The There is no solace, there is no mercy, there is no. I think the worst thing about experiencing depression and being in depression is that you are inconsolable. And optimism and optimists are um, become grotesque. That's one of the things that I don't think I've heard anybody talk about. That the people who the buck up crowd, the people who are attempting to give you solutions, the people who are attempting to put forward ideas, they not only do they sound stupid, like when you're in a depressive state, but they seem grotesque and monstrous. Like, what they're saying sounds childish. Uh, and I think this ties in with sort of what I've been experiencing on the larger social dynamic, that we keep getting told, like, just keep working harder, just keep working harder. And it's just sounding more and more grotesque the longer it's getting said. When what's really obvious is that we as a people need to stop working, because it's time we actually start asking ourselves, what is it we're working at and towards? And if you actually take this step back and look at what it is we are working towards, it is that we are working towards the destruction of the species. So we should probably stop that. Uh, and when you kind of get into that state of mind, and when you realize that, then the people who are saying, like, oh, just work harder, right? They sound grotesque. They sound monstrous. Like, work harder at destroying yourself. That seems extremely stupid. And I think it's super important to talk about depression, um, because, like, when I was younger, it was really clear that you weren't allowed to talk about depression, that it was something, oh, just buck up. Yeah, it's fine. Why can't you just be happy, right? You can just smile it away, right? Just fake it till you make it. All that kind of garbage Oprah nonsense. The the trouble with depression is that it is your battle to face. Like, conservative types are right about that. It is your battle to face. That you do have to do the work for yourself to fight it yourself, and you can't not. No one's going to do it for you because no one knows what's going on more than you do. And one of the keys, and you have to do this if you're going to at least live with your depression, at least find a way to get out of bed, is to constantly investigate, like you're a detective, the source. Because there is a source. There is a source for your depression. And that source can be, and this is where it gets tricky, is that source can be something just physical, right? Maybe you've just been working too long, you're too stressed out, you're not getting enough sleep, right? These sorts of things. And maybe it can be something social. You just went through a breakup. You're not happy with something that happened in a relationship or in your life generally, right? And you need to accept that and dwell on that and figure that out. But it can also be something spiritual and something much larger than yourself. And part of what makes it difficult, and what sort of does make the suggestion that you have to do something about it, right, does kind of render it a bit childish, is that sometimes sometimes I get depressed about things that I could not possibly change, that are not never going to happen, like large scale massive problems. Like climate change is a great one, right? Like I've said on this channel several times, I don't think we recover from the disaster of climate change that we're clearly ignoring. And, you can get very depressed about that. Because it's a very depressing subject. It's easier for people not to think about it. It's easier for them to just sort of go along their lives and shrug and go like, okay, well, I guess, it'll work itself out. And yeah, it will work itself out. You're not gonna like it, but it'll work itself out. And so for me, it's about coming to terms with it, right? And doing something about it, like planning, organizing, unionizing, finding people around you who think as you do, finding people who want to seek actual change. All of those things are great to do. But I think what's more important, at least for me, is coming to terms with the fact that we aren't going to succeed. That it isn't, that our fight, while important and while necessary for our spiritual and intellectual well being, is one that is largely hopeless, I guess is the word. It's the Sisyphus story of pushing the boulder up the mountain only to have it roll back down. And to find peace with that. How do we find peace with that? Can we find peace with that? That this world is likely doomed. And it's doomed because we destroyed it. We did it to ourselves in this ritual of necromancy that we inflicted on the world. And like sometimes I have periods, like long periods of time where I'm depression free. I can tell, I know all of this. And it's been something I've been dealing with for 20 years, maybe longer, probably longer. And even now, Sometimes the depression just wins. Sometimes you wake up and you just know, oh, today is going to be about this. And you can't do anything right, and nothing seems to work, and everything seems wrong, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how careful you are, or how much care you put into it, or what your plans were. Today is about depression. And about finding a way to how do you continue forward, knowing that this is senseless and that everyone around you is just milling about while we're standing on top of this bomb that will go off, that is going to go off. I just don't know if I can be like, we're all working these jobs because that's how the system is structured for our base survival. We don't get food and shelter if we don't. But anyone with a brain in their head and anyone with any sense would stop. And we should. We should all stop. And I'm going to continue saying it. We should have a general strike. We should stop. We should all go and clog up the highways. Stop all of this. We should stop. And spend some time with each other and figure out, how do we live without using necromancy. And I'm going to begin calling it that openly. We are burning the bones of our ancestors in devices we use to give us power. It's necromancy. We're using the life force of our ancestors to give ourselves superpowers. It's necromancy. And the cost of necromancy is that our ancestors will punish us for pulling them out of their slumber, so that we could have horseless carriages and portals into other people's lives. And they will punish us for that. And I don't think we escape it. And so it's easy to fall into depression. And I don't really have a solution, because I don't think there is one. The true solution is to stop. Stop using necromancy. But I doubt that will happen. And so we simply find a way. How do we live with the knowledge that we have destroyed ourselves? How do we get out of bed even? How do we prevent ourselves from committing suicide while we wait for the mass suicide that we've perpetuated on ourselves? One day at a time. I think that's the best we've got. Good luck out there, guys. We're going to need it.